Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is Hunter here, and I'm here with Scott. Scott, how you doing, sir?
Ooh, I am fantastic. Thanks, Hunter. You're such a gracious host.
Oh, thanks, man. I try. And I'm here with Colin. Colin, how you doing,
I
sir?
don't think I'm as good as Scott, but I'm good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, you're
Hey,
definitely.
it's all right.
Yeah,
I
neither of
wish
us
I
are
was
as good as Scott.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I'm very curious to get your guys' thoughts on this. We're talking about the new Tupac biopic. So they did something kind of similar. I mean, it was more actually like actual footage. They did a Tupac Resurrection um, years ago. I think that was 2000. Ooh, when was that? I think that was 2003 ish, 2002 around there. Um, so, but there hasn't been a like true production of Tupac's life and death really like this. So, Scott, I'm gonna ask you, man, because I know Colin, I know I know you don't listen to as much of the many of the Coon tunes as me and as me
Oh my
as,
god. I
as
don't
me
know if
and
I've heard that
Scott.
one yet.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. As me and Scott do. Oh wow, I was right on the dot. 2003. God, I'm so proud. But Scott, what were you thinking going into this?
Um, I was thinking probably gonna be a minority in the theater. Um, Probably maybe gonna not get a few jokes. I don't know if you'll be able to relate to some of the circumstantial situations of Tupac and his friends. No, I feel like, I didn't have really many expectations going in. I didn't get to see a lot of, I don't think I saw one trailer for this. Not super familiar with Demetrius Shipp Jr. Um, so yeah, just kind of blank slate really going into it. I had just gotten out of Rough Night, and it was a little bit rough night for me. It was not. I was hoping that I would walk into a notorious type situation with Tupac, or with All Eyes on Me, because where you got a lot of music, like the soundtrack's good. Like at least you got that. Like at least you got the soundtrack that you can reminisce with while you're watching the movie. So I was hoping there's good music, and I wanted to see definitely more of like a biopic of Tupac himself, and like because I'm a little more familiar with Biggie, um, but I feel like kind of looking into his life I thought would be interesting. So real simple expectations going into this.
Fair enough. Colin, again, and I don't mean this disparagingly, because again, I do know you listen to some of the hippity hoppity, but I know that you're, I, I don't know why I'm talking about the music
No,
like this.
I really like the way you're describing. I believe what hip hop or rap music is what you're referring to. I'm guessing. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be correct.
yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I definitely like a lot of hip hop rap music. Like some of my
Yeah,
favorite
you love
music.
Macklemore.
Yeah, as long as they're white. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
no, but yeah. I mean, I grew up in like the Central Valley of California and on the coast. Tupac, I think he died when I was maybe like, I don't know, 10 or something. So I mean, it was like right before my time of when any of us would have been hearing it, when his music was out. But it's obviously stood this like the test of time. His music is classic, just as NWA and Dre and everybody from that time and in the 80s and 90s. But I mean, honestly, going into this movie, I was a huge fan of Straight Outta Compton. That was the most recent kind of biopic on this music of this era. I thought Straight Outta Compton was super well done, and I was excited to see this. I don't really know much about Tupac Shakur's life. I know I hear his music all the time. I feel like his music will never go kind of out of style. Like it's kind of this classic sound that you're always going to hear, especially in California, Southern California area. So I was excited to see a cool biopic. But as you know, some things that have come out after the movie was released, you can't really be sure what was true. I don't know if I actually do know that much about his life as it was portrayed in this movie. But going into it, I mean, I was really stoked, excited to see a cool biopic. It's an interesting genre, and it's definitely a good way to learn about someone as famous as Tupac.
Yeah, I think my big problem going into this is that I knew it wouldn't be as great as the classic music biopic about Dewey Cox. I just knew it wouldn't be that good. So you know, so you know when you know a movie's not going to clear that bar, it's just like, what's the point? But no, but all joking aside, I fucking love Lockhart. That's probably my second favorite music quote biopic unquote, right behind Straight Outta Compton. And I think the biggest problem with this movie is that Straight Outta Compton exists, because Straight Outta Compton was so fantastic. I think the thing that irritates me about this movie in particular is that by the end of the movie, you knew more about Dre, you knew more about Cube, you knew more about Eazy-E. There were three, really main characters they focus on. I got to the end of this and I felt, yeah, you get some nice snippets from, and I cannot remember the brother who's, oh yeah, they don't even say the guy's name. Journalist is how he's listed here. But the guy interviewing Tupac in the movie, it's well done in the sense of their back and forth is interesting, especially when it gets intense. But the problem is that this feels like a term paper you haven't gone through and reformatted and put in order, because it's so jumbled all over the place as far as how it's presented that's really jarring, honestly. And this movie was in production hell. I mean, they've been trying to do this for I think 3 or 4 years, and so they've switched I believe at least 2 directors. John Singleton, or John Singletary from Boys in the Hood, he was attached to direct this at a point, and he left over creative differences, so they settled on Benny Boom, who's a big hip hop director. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Scott. Man, I left pretty disappointed, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, I 100% agree about your point you have with Straight Outta Compton, because that's one of the better, biopics. I mean, rap biopics, any biopic that I've seen in a while, and it was done so well. And like you said, the character development was there. You're really able to find out, a little bit about these guys' lives. I know this kind of centered on one person, but I don't really feel like I know him a whole lot better than when I started this movie. And it's a weird thing to say, because it's an entire movie filled with events that happened in his life, but I feel like it was more about his interactions with other people. And going through this whole movie, I wasn't sure even how far this movie was gonna go. Like if the end of this movie was gonna be him dying, or him being shot, or if it was.
Whoa, Scott! Spoiler.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, spoiler alert. Tupac is dead.
Wait, what?
Yeah, sorry to break the news.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, I especially when you had, they tried to do a Snoop Dogg. I don't even know the kid's name.
Man,
but
yeah,
that was a real big swing and miss.
Did I hear that Snoop Dogg actually dubbed over it's Snoop Dogg's voice while the actor is mouthing lip syncing?
I thought I heard
that's what I heard. I heard somewhere
that guy doing that.
I heard somewhere it was actually Snoop Dogg doing a voiceover, so it was Snoop Dogg's voice for this kid.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't get Kobe out of my head when I was watching this movie. I felt like Kobe was portraying Tupac. Like, and I don't know why. I know like he doesn't even like. I don't know what it is about his face, but every time, like, man,
They kind of look
Kobe,
similar.
you should be out there like making jumpers right now, not laying
Well-
down rhymes. Like,
Well, not in Kobe shape right now, but
Right.
I'm sorry, unnecessary. I love you, Kobe.
yeah,
that's
for sure. It Straight Outta Compton was too good. It jumps around. You kind of just touched on that. The whole interview thing was really chopped up. I mean, they had a great actress on their hands. Dana. Dana. I don't even know how I'm gonna butcher this. Gurira. She was
Yeah,
excellent.
Michonne. Yeah, Michonne.
Yeah,
from Walking
Michonne,
Dead.
thank you. Exactly. She was excellent, and she's a great actress. And I felt like you saw too much of her, and then not enough, and then I could see how this has been in production for a while because this looks chopped to bits.
Yeah, it really does. This is Batman vs Superman starring black people. I thought it was all over the place. I think what killed me about this is that Danaya Gurira is how I'm gonna pronounce it. I hope that's right.
Everybody will have their own pronunciation.
Yeah, exactly. But she really she put on a showcase in this movie, and I kind of feel like you did, Scott. Where at the beginning, they really did I thought a good job at least setting the foundation for her being so important. Tupac's wife, of course, playing Afeni Shakur. I did not know that that her and Pac's biological father were Black Panthers. I was not aware. Actually, no, I did. I did remember them being Black Panthers. I didn't remember them being so prominent though in the organization, which was kind of a cool. Oh, that makes a lot of fucking sense. I think what killed me though is that there's this point where she becomes hooked on drugs and she disappears for what would you say, Scott? Calling probably half hour ish, and I think the movie loses so much steam when she leaves. And I don't know, for a man who wrote a song called "Dear Mama," it really felt like it almost felt like they didn't know how to approach the relationship. If that makes sense to either of you guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. And she had such a commanding presence. Like you wanted to see that relationship more. I think is kind of how I felt, just because I think like one of the bright spots for this movie is some of the acting, definitely. Like I think you guys already touched on it. It feels jumbled. It's like the editing is all over the place. It feels like it just kind of feels low budget, like the way they kind of like strung everything together. There's like weird, like it'll like fade to black in weird situations, and like kind of almost like a TV show. But yeah, like I was so interested in that relationship, and like you said, she kind of disappears. So I was right there with you.
Yeah, I think the thing that killed me watching this movie is that killed me. But I think what made me really sad watching this was the fact that Tupac does have such an interesting story, and if you listen to his music, you hear it. To this day, I remember the first time I heard California Love, and I thought, "What the fuck was that?" But in the best way, because it was so. I mean, Dre does anything. It's pretty much, it's at the very least good, But that song is, I think, in my top 10 favorite rap songs ever, and then of course, two of America's Most Wanted, Hail Mary. One of my favorite scenes in the last probably 5 years is in Creed, when Creed is walking out to Hail Mary. I was so fucking amped for the last fight. I was like, yes. Pac's music still is so relevant today, and you look at someone like Kendrick Lamar, who has been dubbed by most people the new Tupac, and it feels like that. He's clearly taken the blueprint and run with it. I just think what's so just irritating about this is that it doesn't feel like they dig deep enough into Pac's psyche. You get these little glimpses of it, but it does feel like they just maybe, I don't know if they don't want to just get too dark with it, or maybe they don't want to expose things that maybe the general public doesn't know that much about Tupac. It feels like they're almost trying to appease everyone, and they just end up not appealing to anyone. Um, Scott, I do have to say before I throw it back to you, there was one thing that made me laugh so hard because I imagine both you guys looking at the screen, kind of tilting your heads like dogs. So there's a point early on in the movie where Pac has met Jada Pinkett. She was in like the same high school, I guess, if memory serves. Uh, but he ends up being told he's got to move to the West Coast, and so he reads her this poem. And I was laughing so hard in the theater, guys. I wasn't even trying to hide it. I'm like, there's no goddamn way this scene happened because it's one of those, hey, I'm gonna read you a poem that that you know what I mean, though? It felt very out of left field, and I was rolling my eyes like there was no tomorrow. Scott, your thoughts on that?
There's something about this movie that it's hard for me to put my finger on what I exactly didn't like about it, and I didn't take a lot of notes for this movie. And I usually do for movies that I don't exactly enjoy, but I didn't really know. I mean, I don't. It was hard for me to critique almost because nothing was blatantly wrong about it, overtly. But I think if you kind of dive into it a little bit, there are definitely some glaring mistakes here. Um, yeah, I think like I mean we've said it already. Also, the music. I feel like there were certain scenes. Like there's a few times where they were in the recording studio where he was putting down like he was laying down his own verses and on top of other songs, and that all seemed like it really went together well and set the mood of the movie. And then other times I felt like they're finding ways to put his songs in,
I agree.
and just kind of forcing him in that way. And that kind of goes back to the whole editing production thing where it feels kind of like blocky, and when you do that it's hard for me as a viewer to really like focus on one character or another and really form a connection with them, so that later on in the movie when something does or doesn't happen to them that I care about them and I want to come back. And that just didn't really happen with a lot of these characters, even though the acting performances were there, and I even thought Kobe was good. I think he even looked like Tupac. But I don't know. It was one of those ones where I left knowing that I didn't like it, didn't love it, but not really being able to put my finger on it.
I think going off of what you were saying, where you couldn't really put your finger on why this didn't feel like a complete movie, and what like I think when I was thinking about it, I was like, for someone who I really don't know much about Tupac's life. And like going into it, I was like, I'm very interested to learn. I feel like it does an okay job at kind of scratching the surface on who this man was, like how he lived his life, how he came to, sign with Death Row Records, and what happened when he was forced to go to jail and all these different things. But then to think about like who this person is, who this movie is being made about, like it should be so much more. Like it should be deeper. Like the movie basically like just kind of made me want to find a decent documentary where I could actually really learn some better truer things about Tupac. And from what I was kind of reading and trying to understand like what happened with this movie, it just seems like they did a disservice to Tupac in not making this what it could have been. And it's funny you mentioned that scene, Hunter, because you're talking about how like you'd be tilting your head like this seems bizarre, like reading the poem. Like I had actually saw about how Jada Pinkett Smith was tweeting out about how that never happened.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that beforehand. So like when they started showing it, I was kind of like already knew. I was like, oh, this is the part she was talking about. So I just kind of thought that was funny. And then like after you kind of know like that was completely made up, I kind of lost trust in the movie. I was like, I don't know if any of these conversations kind of took place like this, or like what's real, what's not. So it kind of lost credibility with me in that aspect.
Yeah, this is just I don't know, man. This felt more. So before we kind of wrap up here, one thing, the thing is to comparing to Straight Outta Compton, it's unfair, but it's totally fair because that movie had just grade A talent behind it as far as in the writing room and all that. Um, the people who wrote this, Jeremy Hoft, Stephen, I'm gonna butcher this one, Bagatorian, and then I think I got that, and then Eddie Gonzalez the eighth. These guys, um, Jeremy Haft wrote this movie called Tamara, which is a Carrie ripoff, and then Street Kings 2 Motor City. Uh,
Classic.
yeah, exactly. Stephen Bagatorian, he wrote this movie called American Gun, which I've never even heard of. And then Eddie Gonzalez, he was another screenwriter on Street Kings 2. And Benny Boom, as I mentioned, he's been working on Empire, and he worked on the 90210 reboot. Who cares? But he was the director of this absolute dog shit uh, Black Foolishness movie called Next Day Air, which was just atrocious. So yeah, not a whole lot of talent as far as being behind the camera or involved. The one other actor I do want to throw some, I want to give some credit to is a Dominic L. Santana who played Suge Knight. Now, just real quick here, if you'll get comfortable for story time with Hunter, my Papa Hunter, he used to work at a men's colony, and Suge Knight was held there for I think it was a couple months. But I remember my dad specifically just saying how nice Suge was to him. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, yeah. He's actually really cool, but everyone was afraid of him. And then he
Until
started.
you got in his way and then you broke your neck.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, if you just do a simple Google search of Suge Knight, you'll see some of the things he's done. The highlight probably being holding Vanilla Ice over a railing until he signed the rights to Ice Ice Baby. That's one thing I do remember hearing. So yeah, Suge Knight was no joke. And there is this scene at a dinner table where if it did happen the way it did, um, there's no part of you that's smart that wouldn't say, yeah, I should probably get out of my contract because this dude, I mean, he doesn't kill him, but he might as well have. You know what I mean? I mean, it was scary. And they even point out in the movie, they allude to the end of Straight Outta Compton, where they go, he goes, I couldn't leave if I wanted to. And he's like, Dre left. And then Pac kind of gives this kind of workaround answer that doesn't really acknowledge what his girlfriend just said to him. So, um, yeah, to throw it back to you guys as we kind of wrap up here, uh, I, I think you hit it right on the head in the sense of there wasn't anything that deliberately made me go, oh, this is dog shit. But at the same time, I was just so underwhelmed when Deny wasn't on there. Jamal Woolard, that's the other dude I wanted to throw a little shout out to. He plays Big, and I don't know, but what did you guys kind of think of him? He's not in the movie a lot, but what did you kind of think of him?
He was good. I mean, he was also in Notorious. He played
He was,
Big
yeah.
in Notorious, and I really liked him in that. He carries himself like I feel like Biggie did, and I liked him in this. He played his role. I for sure. I just feel like a lot of the characters represented in this movie that were also represented in Straight Outta Compton were like B grade, like especially when
Yeah.
it comes to like Snoop Dogg and Dre. That was kind of like a random little like cameo that the guy that didn't even really look like him. Like I don't know. It was hard to follow along, really.
Yeah, Colin, you're kind of. What about you, man?
Yeah, I don't know if I had like a huge problem with the actors, to be honest, except for Snoop. I think that was the biggest glaring like what's happening right
Yeah.
now. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like the dude playing Suge Knight, like I thought he was good. Jamal Woolard playing Biggie, like I don't know, I didn't have a ton of problems with the actors portraying their roles, which just further confused me again. Like, why, it's just a confusing movie walking away. I mean, certainly the end. I mean, I probably should touch on that, but like, I definitely wanted more, something to wrap up a little bit more than how it ended. But as far as as far as the actors, I don't know. I didn't have a huge problem.
I feel I totally agree with what you said earlier, Hunter, where you felt like they were trying to please everybody, and I think that's how that final scene played out. Was them trying to please everybody and not like pointing fingers, because the movie's shown a pretty like a good light on Biggie and like their relationship together, and then like all of a sudden they hate each other and they're rapping about each other, and then the end scene I feel like wasn't just, I don't know, I wanted to know more, and I feel like that was, we kind of all came away with this movie thinking is wanting more. I feel like there was more things I wanted to learn about him and with his relationship with other people in his his circle. I feel like it was just all leading up to like the big final scene of him getting shot, and it was like, yeah, we already knew that was going to happen. You're not really showing me behind the scenes that, especially reading a lot of the stuff beforehand and whatever that came out after this movie came out, even made it more, less believable.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't read anything about the movie going in. What I will say is, getting to my final thoughts here. You know, it's so random, but stick with me here. I just watched the new 30 for 30 on the Lakers versus the Celtics. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but this, like, I think a Tupac, in order to really be able to go through his life and really do him justice, I think there needs to be a 30 for 30 type thing done on him, because I feel like this would work way better like Tupac Resurrection did, like in a 2 or 3 part documentary, really digging in. This, I think it's too dense. I think he's too dense of an artist to get through. And this is a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, and I still just, as much as I know about Pac, I just kind of left thinking, wow, I really didn't feel like I learned that much. Also, the other thing is, comparing it to Straight Outta Compton again, but when you hear them do Straight Outta Compton for the first time live, it feels like a oh shit,
you're
like,
witnessing it for the first time.
Yeah, it feels awesome. And then Easy E, what's my name? Easy, like those performances in the movie are really fucking incredible, and it feels like you're there. I never had that feeling watching this with any of the live performances, and that bums me out too, because I wanted that feeling, and the movie just didn't know how to do it. So damn, I'm sitting here thinking about it. I gotta give this a C minus. I'm sitting here thinking about, yeah, I can't even get to a C, because I think that's higher than what this deserves, to be totally honest with you. So yeah, C minus for me. I mean, if you catch this on, on Cinemax or whatever, in 8 months, because that's where it will be, then cool. But outside of that, man, I was really quite disappointed, I will say. Scott, what about you, man? Your final thoughts and your grade, sir?
Yeah, I'll agree with a lot of what you've been saying. Definitely disappointed. Just, yeah, it's going to be hard for me to wrap it up, because I don't really even know what to say about this movie. I'd give it a C. Just average, not something I would watch again, even on DVD or Lifetime or BET later.
Lifetime.
Later period. Hey, you never know.
Yeah,
they love their Tupac over there at Lifetime. So yeah, I'd give it a C. It could really go either way with this movie.
Colin, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was excited walking in, see a cool representation and story told about Tupac. And I thought I walked out and I was very underwhelmed I just felt like I wanted more. So I think we're all on the same page here. I just thought it was super average. Like, there's no like we talked about before. There's no glaring anything that makes you pissed off or think like, this is a terrible. It has some good acting performances, but it's just super average. Like, it almost feels like a made for TV type movie. I'm just it's average. It's a C for me. It's just a C.
And fair enough, man. It's the thing. Like, even if people said they thought it was okay, I wouldn't be mad on that. Now if people say good.
Do you think him being dead has anything to do with it? Because NWA, they have people that they can draw experiences from. Like, you can get one story from 4 different people, right?
Yeah.
So you can really create an accurate representation of what happened. And that's what happened with Straight Outta Compton, is like, it felt so real. It felt like you were there when it happened. This was like, they were just kind of like skimming, because I feel like they might not have had the details, and
that's fair.
Yeah,
maybe that's what this was missing, was the details to everything, and that's what I loved about Straight Outta Compton.
I think you bring up a great point, because when you think about the biggest difference of Straight Outta Compton to this one is Ice Cube's alive. Ice Cube and his son portrayed him. You had people that were very close to the truth. So, like, who's gonna argue otherwise? And then you have Ice Cube, who I'm pretty sure he was pretty active in the creative process of that movie. So, you got a lot of authentic scenes, a lot of things how they probably actually went down in real life, where you're watching this and you're just like, who knows? And in some instances, for a fact they didn't happen the way they did, because you have people telling you so on Twitter.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, Scott, I gotta say, man, Scott, that's a brilliant point, sir. Well done, because yeah, you're right. I mean, they can ask, Cube or Pac or or Pac, good grief. They can ask Cube or Dre, like, what happened. You can't ask Pac, well, Ouija board, but what are you gonna but what? Not so on the good Ouija board joke. But
Ouija boards scare me. I don't mess with that.
No, dude, I'm black. They scared the shit out of me. Are you kidding me? But yeah, disappointing, because I feel like there's a great story to be told here, and this is gonna sound kind of mean, but maybe after his mom has passed, maybe we'll get that story. Because at the same time, you don't want to put something out like, oh yeah, your your son was out raping women, fucking whores and shit. Like, I mean, but what I mean? Like, so so I understand they can only push so far, but yeah, what are you gonna do? So yeah, it's disappointing, but tis been the summer. This has not. God, can something good come out? Can Baby Driver come out so we can be excited?
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
About a movie again? Can Spider-Man Homecoming come? But guys, let us know what you thought about. I'm really curious to hear what people thought about this, because this is at a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Holy shit, I didn't know it was that low.
Yeah, dude, people are not liking this. And to put in perspective, Notorious is at a 51%, and Barbershop: The Next Cut is at 90%. So just to show the first, second, third place finish there. But Barbershop, Ice Cube, what can't you do? But guys, let us know what you thought about All Eyes on Me. What's your you know what? I'm gonna ask you, Scott, since you're a hip hop head. What is your favorite Pac song? I'm gonna ask you.
Probably Thug Mansion, probably.
Ooh, that's a good one. Him and Nas, yeah. I think for me, either Changes or Hail Mary. I mean, I do. I mean, it's a terrible line as far as as far as the language. But I just fucking love the "I ain't a killer, but don't push me. Revenge is the sweet joy next to getting pussy." Like, the first time I heard that, I was like, "Damn, that's good." Like,
he definitely is more like one of the more intellectual rappers of our generation. Not even our generation, but the past few generations.
Yeah, I mean, he would be in my top 10 easily. You know, I mean, and his music has still held up, which is quite impressive when you think about it. But guys, let us know what you thought in the comments below about this. You can subscribe to us here on SoundCloud at the Real Pineapple 775. Follow us on Podbean at the Real Pineapple. Like us on Facebook at the Real Pineapple. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. Follow Scott on Twitter at
Newman the First.
You can follow everyone's favorite Irishman, Colin, on Twitter at
The Real O'Neill.
Guys, thank you so much. I will have my reviews up for getting started on that Spider-Man film series. Finally, gonna have my review up for Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. We've got what, 2 weeks before Homecoming comes out. Yeah, so I got 2 weeks to knock out 3 more movies. So
I know, Hunter, you're really excited about Homecoming. Colin, are you excited for this?
Yeah,
Hesitant?
I'm down. I
Okay,
think
cool.
I think it should be good.
Cool. Sorry, just a little poll there.
No, fair enough. But we'll have reviews up, those reviews up for Spider-Man 1 and 2, and unfortunately for Transformers The Last Night, which is also Mark Wahlberg's last Transformers movie I looked up today. So,
darn.
so I yeah, I know. So what are you gonna do? So maybe they'll get good after they get rid of Michael Bay and Mark Wahlberg. But guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.